Thank you both for joining. Really appreciate this. I'm here with Barbara Mojica and Freny Palofox-Gil, who are both representatives of an event that took place very, very recently. So Barbara Mojica is the executive director of NLCUP, the National Association of Latino Credit Union Professionals, and Freny is an operations specialist at Modesto First Federal Credit Union in Northern California. Welcome, both of you, to Credit Union Nation.
Thank you, Tom, for having us.
I'm Tom Sakash. I'm a strategy consulting officer at Your Credit Union Partners. It's a brand new podcast. It's one of the first few episodes that we're recording, but we are really excited to have both of you on to talk about the event that NLCUP put on just a couple of weeks ago, where we had Scott Butterfield, who's the founder of the company that I work for, Your Credit Union Partner. He gave a presentation there, and he just said it was an amazing event and really suggested that we talk to you and also to you, Barbara, and to you, Freny, about your experience. And I think it's kind of unique and fun that we have, sort of the person and the organization that put the event on, but also a participant to hear both sides of that perspective. So thanks for taking the time to do it. And so, I think let's just jump in, and starting with you, Barbara, tell us about the NLCUP ITIN Lending School that just took place. What were some of the goals for the event, and how did it come about to begin with?
Well, it's been a program that the founders of NLCUP had long ago thought about, but, didn't have someone to bring it into fruition because I'm their first full-time executive director. In 2025, we hired programs director, Naibie Kaufman. And, it was a year that we had to just make this happen. It's crucial for the communities. We know that credit unions really are seeking this information. So that's how it came to be, really, is, the founders are immigrants themselves. Some were affected by having an ITIN in their careers at some point. So we really wanted to bring this vision to life. The goal really is to teach credit unions how to lend better to our community, especially ITIN holders, right? We know that a lot of immigrants get an ITIN through the IRS, are paying taxes here, and we believe that, in order to have equitable access to financial services, NLCUP has the right resources and the right people to teach other credit unions how to service the community across the country. So yeah, that's a little bit of the history there.
Yeah, and then, I probably should have covered this in the beginning, but ITIN stands for Individual Taxpayer Identification Number, and it is typically a program for people without social security numbers. And so, I think that it is sort of a growing. I mean, I feel like since I've been in the industry, I've been in credit unions for a little bit more than 10 years. I have heard of credit unions offering it, but it definitely seems like it's a growing segment and a growing way for credit unions to serve their communities and serve people who are typically underserved. And so, we're really excited that it's sort of gaining steam, and obviously, it's really exciting that NLCUP is kind of being a leader on that front and providing education so that more credit unions can do it. What were some of the lessons or like the specific learnings that you wanted to provide attendees with, Barbara, through the program?
Well, we really wanted to emphasize credit unions that are doing it already, that have done it well for a really long time and have been very successful. As we learned, and Freny can speak to this, that the repayment period, for example, for these credit unions that are specifically doing ITIN lending has been over 98, 99%. So we know that this is a super safe community to lend to. And I often fear that there's a misconception that because this person does not have an ITIN or has legal status in this country, they are not going to pay back their loans. Actually, they pay a lot better and faster. Like we learned with Latino Community Credit Union, who mentioned that most of the mortgages get paid off in 10 years versus the 30-year mortgage plans that most Americans fall under. So we wanted to really emphasize that to ensure that the credit union industry is opening its doors to this hugely underserved community, and to ensure them that, this is also a good business plan for their credit union. We know that credit unions are continuously dying in the nation, and we feel strongly that this is one of the ways that credit unions can truly survive and thrive, if they start serving the underserved. And also, we know credit unions started because immigrants couldn't get loans elsewhere. So we really are going back to our founding principles.
Yeah, no, that's so well put, and I think that is such a like it's the beauty of credit unions and the industry, and I feel like this kind of comes up every time we've done one of these podcasts so far, is that credit unions, they work to figure out how to serve people who are being underserved. Like I feel like there are so many banks and other financial institutions, that they'll serve whoever sort of fit within their parameters, and who's almost convenient for them to serve, whereas maybe it's more challenging for a credit union to figure out how to serve an undocumented person, or someone who just has fallen outside of the traditional financial services system. But they'll figure out a way to solve that issue and figure out a way to serve that person. And it's just what makes credit unions so special. So Barbara, one more question. Who's sort of the target attendee for these types of events? And can you share any future plans for how NLCUP will continue to provide education?
Yeah, I mean, our target audience is really all credit unions, right? If you have an open heart and an open mind, then you are our right audience. We hope that, across the nation, every single credit union can learn how to serve this community. But specifically, I think we've gotten a lot of the smaller credit unions trying to grow in assets, and just trying to like diversify their oh my gosh, I can't think of the word. But I hope that you guys understand what I mean. So those credit unions is who we're targeting as well. NALCA plans to host this every year. I think we did not expect the success of it as much as we did. I know that when we were having the first talks about it, we were like, if we get 20 people to register, we'll call it a successful event. Well, we had 45 people register for this event. So we know there's a huge need, that NALCA can fill that gap for those credit unions. And we hope to be the #1 resource in ITIN lending, anything related to ITIN, and account opening and such. So we are hosting it every single year in Raleigh, North Carolina in November.
Okay, that sounds good. So put it on your calendars every year.
Yes.
Raleigh, North Carolina. That's where you can go and get your education around how to be the best ITIN lender possible. Really fantastic. So Freny, gonna turn it over to you. You got to join this great program as a participant. What were your top takeaways from the event, and what are some of the things that you're excited to implement at your credit union now that you're back from Raleigh?
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest takeaways that it was, like right in front of our face the entire time is that it's actually not that difficult and we don't have to overcomplicate it. It's not much different than lending to a person with a social security number, and we're not doing anything wrong. We're not bending any rules or anything. But what I'm most excited about implementing in my credit union specifically is structure and confidence. So now that everything I can take everything that I learned and make structure here in our credit union, and just give that confidence to our frontline staff and everybody involved really at all levels, that we really are helping our community by being able to provide lending products and services to our community. And we can be seen as a partner and as a resource to the members of our community. So I'm very excited to be able to, give more information, more detail to our staff about, we're really doing the right thing here by providing ITIN holders services, financial services, and be part of their journey. And then I think there's nothing better than having a super confident team, to be able to help the community.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes buy-in from everyone, from staff, but all the way up to the board too, right? And Can you talk a little bit? This wasn't so full disclosure to anyone watching or listening. I sent Barbara and Freny a list of questions beforehand, and I'm going off script, which it just happens, right? But I am curious about the board side. Is there a lot of buy-in and support from the board at Modesto's First for serving this community and offering the I-10 program?
So I think there is some buy-in and some support. Scott Butterfield actually earlier this year was part of our strategic planning. He led that, for our board. There wasn't any pushback, but there weren't any questions or concerns either. So that, it's just kind of open to interpretation, like, do we have their full support? Because they didn't, have any pushback, give any pushback, or do we not? So I think so far, because of the community that we are established in, I think that we do have the board support. They may not be super vocal about it, but they're also not, turning away or trying to go in a different direction or running away from it. So I think that it's as supportive as it's going to get for right now until maybe they start seeing some data to back it up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and the other thing about credit unions is that sometimes there's like this really sort of beautiful balance between doing the right thing and doing something good, and also it leading to growth for the credit union, which is important for sustainability as a financial institution. So kind of a two-part question for you. How does this make an impact on your members and on the community, but also what does offering an I-10 program mean for the credit union as well?
So the impact in our community, I think, because we are still close to membership for the most part, and we're only open to our community. So I think that being able to expand to our community specifically, so if you live, work, worship, attend school in Modesto, that is more focused in the community that we are established in versus anybody around the county or statewide. So I think that is much more of a direct impact because we're able to just go, right next door and help the people that are in our neighborhood. So I think that's where we want to grow our membership to, just everybody see us as the credit union next door, basically, where they can come and get support in their financial journey, whatever it may be. So that's I think the biggest goal and the biggest impact that we will be able to make by being very community focused.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so Barbara, heading back to you here, have you noticed an increasing interest in credit unions that want to serve these types of programs? And from those that do reach out, what are the sort of the most typical questions that you get from those who are interested?
Yeah, I have definitely noticed an increase in that. In my 2 years of NLCUP, I think I get emails weekly almost about I-10 related topics and how a credit union can really start that. And that is the number one question that NLCUP gets is, how does a credit union start their I-10 lending / I-10 opening account programs? And that's why we decided to do the school, and it was such a emergency, almost like we need to do it this year because we were just getting so many inquiries around this topic that we saw there's a dire need for that information that, not a lot of credit unions know how to find. So NLCUP, again, wants to be that resource. But yes, we're definitely noticing an increase in this. And I think it's also related to the fact that the Latino population is the fastest growing population in the United States. So, that those will be your new members. And I think credit unions are realizing that, and they're trying to get ahead of it, right? To ensure that they do retain and attract those members so that their credit union can survive in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it definitely does become sort of a demographic play and strategy. You have to sort of monitor the things that are happening in your community, and going back to the mission, identify those people who are having the hardest time, accessing traditional financial services. That's going back to what you said earlier, Barbara. It's like going back to the roots of the credit union movement. That's how credit unions were started. People who couldn't access a bank or a traditional financial institution, they form the credit unions themselves. So it's fantastic that we have credit unions that understand that and get that, and that are working to expand their services to the communities that need them. I am curious, are there other things outside of I-10 lending that NLCUP plans to provide education around to help credit unions better serve the Hispanic community?
Yeah, I mean, outside of the ITIN Lending School, we have monthly webinars on the last Friday of every month that really covers a lot of topics and how you serve the Latino community, right? Because while we want to emphasize the focus on ITIN lending, we also know that a lot of first generation Latinos are the first ones acquiring wealth. And how do we help those folks continue to hold that wealth? You know, that is one topic that I'm very passionate about, right? Because I've myself, I'm the first one to graduate college, the first one to do this, etc. And now that I finally have savings, no one's telling me how to invest that money because my parents didn't have the opportunity for that, and the education is lacking for the Latino community. So, you know, we're bringing on those topics, and we're going to be very bold in emphasizing those topics because we feel that for a really long time, the Latino community has been forgotten by banks and credit unions, and we want NLCUP to be that voice for those folks, right? Because I strongly believe that if a credit union had interjected in my life early on, the financial struggles that I went through, the financial struggles that my parents went through would have been not non-existent, but they would have been better had we had a credit union on our side.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Well, it sounds like NLCUP definitely has the right person running the organization at this point. It sounds like a very personal mission to you, and I love this idea of growing credit unions' ability to serve the Hispanic community, but also credit union leadership. It seems to be leaning more into sort of Latin voices and Latin professionals. And so I'm curious, and this is actually my last question, and it's for both of you. What does it mean to you both to see more Latino and Hispanic community members play a larger role in the credit union industry overall? I mean, I think of Maria Martinez, and she's a Herb Wegner Award winner, and is a very influential figure in the credit union movement. And you also saw the rise of Latino community credit union, where you hosted the I-10 event, and how it's become one of the greatest success stories in the industry, in my opinion. What does that mean to both of you, and what would you like to see in the future as far as Latino leadership in the credit union movement?
I think it's just very empowering to see somebody, like ourselves being reflected in those leadership positions, where we know that their heart and mind is in the right place and wanting to make a difference for whether it's their credit union, their community, or just helping other credit unions get there as well. It's super empowering and inspiring. And it was very motivating to see how other credit unions with, Latinos in or Hispanics in leadership, the success that they've had with the different moves that they've made. It has just, put things into perspective and like, wow, this is very attainable. This is very possible for everyone, and it just takes the right leader, and whether they're Hispanic or not, it takes the right leader, but it is a little bit more empowering to see, somebody, from a similar background to be in that position that makes things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Barbara?
I love this question so much because I've thought about it for so long since you sent it. And the other day I was very curious and I Googled first Latina CEO women in the credit union world, right? And Maria Martinez came up as the first 5. And Maria Martinez is still a CEO right now. So that should tell you a lot that, not many people have gotten there that are Latinos. And so NLCUP is going to be very bold in supporting those efforts, and first of all, and ensuring that we are well represented in the C-suite area, in the CEO area, as well as board governance, because we know that when we have representation, change happens. It's the first time in the industry, I feel, that Latinos are finally being heard. I feel that sometimes when folks talk about DEI work, Latinos are not part of that, you know, and it's part of it because our community is very resilient and we just move forward without asking much of others, you know, because we become very grateful of the opportunities we already have. But I want to empower my community, you know, to be bold in those asks, to know that you deserve more, first of all, and that you deserve those promotions and those career opportunities, just like your white counterparts, you know. And so that is really the mission of NLCUP. I hope that in the next 10 years, NLCUP has had a crucial role in empowering those individuals, and that we see when we Google who are the Latina CEOs of the movement, we just don't see 10 people up there. We see 20 or 30 women and men leading those organizations. We know that when we have diversity in thought, the communities are better out because of that, you know, and eventually the impact that we have is when we people of color in CEO positions and board governance trickles down to the communities that we're serving, right? I mean, I don't think that I could lead this organization had I not been an immigrant and undocumented myself. This is passionate for me. This is passion work. And I think when we transmit that, the communities at large benefit from that, you know? So I want to ensure that folks feel seen and feel heard and feel like they have the voice to, you know, voice their needs in this space, because we have never before. And if you talk to my board members who have been in the industry for quite a while, they see this new generation of Latinos and they're just in awe of how much we want to be there. You know, we want to move up and how bold we're being with those needs and wants. So that is my hope for the industry. And I know we'll get there because I believe that the credit union movement is very unique and it's full of good people, good intentioned people that really want to see everyone thrive regardless of color.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And, you know, I love, you know, your passion for this. And Freny, you know, you talking about, you know, seeing, you know, other Latino people in positions of influence in the industry. That representation is really so important. And I think about, you know, the credit unions that have worked to try to better serve Hispanic communities. One of the initial steps, and I think both of you probably appreciate this, is hiring people who speak Spanish, who look like the people that you're trying to serve. And, you know, that gives people confidence to come in and be a member of the credit union. And just like that concept, you know, having people in the CEO role who are Hispanic or from the Latino community, you know, hopefully that gives you more confidence as native, or I'm sorry, as Latin credit union professionals, you know, to aspire to those C-suite roles and those high executive roles. I think it's super powerful. I'm really in awe of the work that you guys are doing, and really appreciate it, of course. And just want to say thank you so much for hopping on here and talking about it. And yeah, keep up the great work. And we're all rooting for you, especially us here at YCUP. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Freny.
Thank you.